Hi everybody, this is Tyro, and this is a look at my first ever Unreal Engine 4 game. It's called Shifted Gear, and it's a prototype for my game prototyping module at Teesside University. The game is a top-down twin-stick vehicular shooter where the player must invade a compound and destroy 3 generators. Each generator has 3 shield beamers which must be destroyed before you can destroy the generator itself. After all 3 generators are destroyed, the exit to the level will open. The game has full keyboard and gamepad support, so it can be played with either, but me myself, I am using the gamepad as it's much easier to control. Although the game has a few shortcomings, such as the current vehicle AI, it's only prototype and I'm pretty proud with how it's turned out. I haven't really seen any other games of this type, so without further ado, here is Shifted Gear. To start off, we need to discuss gameplay. Shifted Gear offers fast-paced vehicular mayhem, which challenges the player's use of precise movement and multitasking. Whilst driving around, the player must formulate plans on how to approach groups of enemies, calculate the best time to use their abilities, and also try and complete the overall objective of sabotaging the generators. The player can attempt to just ignore the enemies and take out the generators, or they can rock out to the background music whilst purging every enemy from the level. First level can be completed in about 10 minutes, however, if you're not a pro gamer, and die quite a lot, then it can take quite a while longer. There are 5 different types of enemies in the game. The first is the General, which is the standard enemy type and has 100 HP. It's red and has no special abilities. The second is the homing enemy. As the name might suggest, it fires deadly homing missiles at the player. These are the enemy with the most damage in the game, and their missiles are quite useful at long ranges, but if the player can get in close and shoot the missiles before they reach them, then they're not so big a threat. These are orange in colour and have 100 HP also. Next are the tanks. They are purple in colour and have 200 HP. They're bigger than any other of the enemy classifications, but they move and fire much slower. On the other end of that is the Speedster class, which is small, blue and fast, a bit like Sonic the Hedgehog. These only have 50 HP, but they fire at double the rate of the tank. Finally, we have my favourite of the classes, which is the Guardian. These are red and green in colour and fire healing beams, which will restore 10 HP. Catch with this is that the enemies will also be healed if they are hit by this beam. There are also 5 abilities in the game, the first of which is the health ability, which restores the player to full health, the shield ability, which absorbs up to 100 extra hit points of damage for the player, the homing missile ability, which will fire 3 homing missiles towards the nearest enemy. We also have the freeze ray, which will freeze an enemy for 5 seconds, preventing them from firing at you or even moving. Finally, we have the speed boost ability, which momentarily boosts the player's velocity. This allows the player to move fast enough to reach extra points and extra abilities. They are also used as the access point to a hidden area in the game. Another application of this is to escape from enemies, and if you're fast enough, even ram them away, causing massive damage. The theme of the game is a kind of dystopian world where warfare is played out with highly deadly remote-controlled vehicles, which this is not too dissimilar to our own. The main idea of the game is that the player is part of a guerrilla operation to dismantle a brutal regime, and their first mission is to take down a facility by destroying the 3 generators powering it. I had a lot of inspiration from Twisted Metal and Robot Wars when coming up with the idea for vehicular mayhem. The game also takes a lot of strategy to play. The player must continuously ask themselves questions. Some example of these are: when are the best time to use the health/shield ability? Should they use their speed boost to escape an enemy or to reach a location which will give them more abilities? Is it beneficial to kill the guardians, which will get in the way quite a lot of the time, and even heal other enemies as well as yourself? All of these questions alongside the twin-stick shooter gameplay creates a very challenging but rewarding experience for the player. The levels also have an element of verticality, which means that the player must decide where to attack generators and enemies from. One of my favourite parts of the first level is where the player is on the ground and needs to find the location of a shield beamer, which happens to be atop a pedestal. The player then needs to remember this location and climb on top of the platform and shoot in the direction of that shield beamer, even though they cannot currently see it. Alongside this, I have also added a secret area to the map. This area tests the player's control of the vehicle, rewarding them with whichever abilities they want and a lot of points. There is also a score system in the game, which gives the player points for picking up collectibles, destroying enemies, gaining access to hard to reach areas, and destroying generators. In the future, I'd love to come back to this project and give the player more customization options, such as permanent upgrades, colour changes, and new and exciting abilities. If I had more time, I would have loved to have perfected the vehicle AI, the vehicle handling, as well as more different variations of enemies. As I said earlier, I'm happy with how this turned out. There was quite a lot of problems throughout making this, mainly to do with AI or road collisions, but all in all, it's taught me a lot about the Unreal Engine. I hope you've enjoyed a look at my game Shifted Gear and keep an eye out for any other projects that I may be doing. Thanks for watching.